Welcome to Shoe Talk for March 2025. This one is going to really live up to what this series is. This series is my place monthly to sit down and just riff off the cuff about shoes, no script, no format, really just talk about anything I want to talk involving running shoes, and this one's really going to live up to that. I have a lot I want to get through. I have no notes in front of me. But I just have a lot of stuff to jump into, and it's all related. We're going to jump around quite a bit in this one, but it is all sort of intertwined, at least in my head, so let's get started. And the best place to start really is an update on my leg. Now, if you watched last month's Shoe Talk, you knew that I had a bit of a calf strain. My soleus muscle on my left leg kind of went pop at some point back in February. I was really resting it, really taking care of it. And I started off this month with still a very sore leg where I was very iffy to really run fast, do any type of speed work. And what I mean by speed work is anything faster than 5K pace. And it was a bit of a challenge, particularly because this shoe released in March of this month, the Nike Streakfly 2. This is a shoe that I was extremely excited about, really wanted to get into, but because of my leg, I just could not get into this shoe initially, though I did end up doing 2 workouts, one on the track, one on the road in this shoe, where I was really just completely impressed by this shoe for my initial impressions review. Link in the description if you want to check out that review. Now, this shoe is very interesting to me for just a ton of reasons, but from a channel perspective, what I find really interesting about this shoe is this was the 250th video that I've done on this channel. That's both long form and short form content. And it came almost a little bit, maybe 2 weeks past the 2-year anniversary of this channel. Now, why is that important? Well, the very first shoe I talked about on this channel, the very first video on this channel, and the reason I kind of started this channel was to talk about the Nike Streakfly, the original Streakfly. So just a bit over 2 years later and at 250 videos, this was the video that basically launched on the almost day of this 2-year anniversary. I just find that really interesting because when I sat down 2 years ago to record that first video on the Streakfly, I did not expect the Streakfly 2 to look like this, to be this shoe, but also I did not expect it to be a 2-year wait to get to this shoe back then. So really interesting shoe, really loved running in this shoe. The thing that I'm going to say about this shoe is I am so impressed by this shoe that this shoe basically has completely replaced the need for me to have the Nike Dragonfly 2 track spike. Now, I originally bought the Dragonfly 2 as a spike to be able to train in because I didn't want to do all my training in the Victory 2 spike, which is the spike I'll use for racing, or in my case, time trialing. But this shoe is everything the Dragonfly spike does, but more. It's more comfortable. I think it's more versatile because I can run on this road and track. It's great on both. This is the shoe that's basically going to be all of my speed work for really, I think, 2025. This is an excellent shoe for that. And with the extra foam that's in this shoe, I get the leg savingsness of this, so I'm going to recover faster in this shoe from hard speed workouts. And it's just an excellent shoe. So over April into May, as I get more into speed work, I will be spending more time in this shoe, but I'm really impressed with this shoe, and it was exciting to finally get this on foot. Also releasing in March, and probably more exciting to me, is this shoe, the Nike Vaporfly 4. Did a lot of workouts in this shoe, really tested what this shoe can do, really put it through its paces to get to my initial impressions review. Again, link in the description to that video. And overall, very, very impressed with this shoe. If you couldn't have tell that from my review and my technical overview, which I'll also put a link in the description to if you want to check that out. This is the Vaporfly update that I think a lot of people were waiting for. It is not exactly the Vaporfly Next Percent 1 or 2, but it's closer to those shoes. It brings some of the usability and the extra feel of more foam underfoot from the Vaporfly 3, but it fixes a lot of the fit issues, a lot of the sort of unsharpness feeling of the Vaporfly 3. This is a fast shoe. This is a very efficient shoe. This is a shoe that is very, very good, and I am looking forward to spending a ton of time in this shoe. As I talked about in my review for this shoe, I actually have 2 pairs of these. This pair that Nike sent to me, and then I actually ended up buying a second pair of these. So this pair I am going to drive into the ground. I want to see if the old adage of about 150K of performance racing and then maybe another 200K of training, which was basically the rule of thumb that I've used for the Vaporflies for really ever, still stands in this shoe. I feel like it's probably going to, but I really want to see what the durability of this shoe is and where it will start to break down. So expect this shoe to pop up in quite a few videos on this channel, basically for the rest of the year. And I'll be comparing this with a lot of other shoes. I'll be doing a lot of data videos into this shoe. And as far as my running goes, I'll be running quite a bit in this shoe. This will be my long run speed workout racing shoe. And as I've said already, I plan on racing a half marathon at the end of the year. This is likely going to be the shoe I'll be racing in, though there's still many months between now and December. That could change, but I don't know what's going to change to come out with a better shoe than this, at least for me as far as a super shoe goes. And another big release for me that came in March is this, the Nike Vomero 18. Believe it or not, this was a shoe I was very, very much looking forward to in 2025. Even though I'm Team Pegasus all the way, this is a shoe that I really needed for many reasons, as I talked about in my review of this shoe. Link in the description to that video if you've not seen it. This is a shoe that I want for just doing volume, for going out, doing all my easy running, saving my legs, leg savingness, all the recovery aspects of a shoe like this, a max cushion trainer like this. I really wanted to experience ZoomX and ReactX together. This has been a shoe that is just super easy to put on, very comfortable, very protective, very absorbent, and I'm going to be spending a ton of time in this shoe this year because this is probably going to be the shoe that I put on just to go out and do that, bulk, easy running for whatever I'm doing on any given month in my running. That's really what I want this shoe for, to make sure that I can get all the easy running in, recover quickly from that, which the foam in this midsole will allow for, so that I can hit the workouts, because the workouts are what are really important. But I want to get the volume in. This is a shoe I'm going to do a lot of that in. So really enjoying this shoe. Again, like the Vaporfly 4, I want to drive this one into the ground and really see the durability of the shoe. So far, I'm very impressed. I'm at about 120 kilometers in this shoe right now, and super impressive, super fun to run in, and it's everything I've wanted in a Vomero, fixing a lot of the problems from the Vomero 17 that I ran into, and making a shoe that's not quite as all over the place as an Invincible has been, but it's more of a structured training option, which is exactly what I want in a max cushion shoe for volume running of Vomero. So overall, my Nike rotation pretty much for the rest of the year are going to be really these 5 shoes. The Vomero 18 will be the trainer or the daily shoe. The 2 tempo trainers will be the Peg Plus and the Streakfly 2. The Streakfly 2 is also a race option. Any kind of important workouts, really fast stuff I'm doing, time trials, anything like that. I do plan on doing a 5K time trial and an 800 meter time trial on the track. Will be done in the Vaporfly 4 or the Victory 2. So all of my fast options between the Peg Plus, the Streakfly 2, the Vaporfly 4, and the Victory 2, really a lot of versatility there, but the bulk of it will probably be in the Vaporfly 4 and the Peg Plus as a tempo trainer that's non-plated, a lot of ground feel, and then I'll be relying on the Vomero 18 as basically the shoe to kind of eat up the miles in the bulk of my running per week. I do not see this rotation changing much for the remainder of 2025. In fact, going into the race build that I'll be going into at the end of the year, it's probably going to be the Vomero 18, the Peg Plus, and the Vaporfly 4. That's what I'll be running in. So I will be running in other shoes, obviously. I still have the Adidas Adios 9, which I absolutely love. The shoe that I just kind of referenced that you'll be seeing content coming to the channel in April. And there'll be other shoes I'll be testing. There'll be other shoes I'll be pulling out into rotation. Another shoe I'm coming back to is the Adidas Adios Pro 4, mostly because I want to do some data work in that shoe to begin to pair it with the Vaporfly 4 and really understand which one's more efficient for me. I'll throw the Alphafly 3 in there as well. So expect that coming towards the end of April, early May as far as video. I'll be running in other stuff, but the bulk of my running will be in that Nike rotation. Shifting gears, another thing that I did in March was this. I launched my second channel finally. Now this is a non-running channel. I did this video which announced it. Any of you that went and checked out the channel, watched some of the content, maybe you subscribed, thank you for that. Continue watching the content. If you went over there, checked out the content, wasn't for you, totally cool, stay here because I'm going to be focused on running stuff here. Nothing's going to change on this channel, but that second channel is just a place for me to really talk about anything else I'm interested in besides just running shoes and running in general. In fact, if I even talk about running at all on that channel, it will be to a non-running audience. For example, I do plan on doing a why run video, but if I did that on this channel, you're all runners. You know why you run. We all know why we run. But on my second channel, that will be to a non-running audience primarily, and how I would talk about running to a non-runner is a very different conversation. So this second channel is where I'm just going to put whatever else I'm interested in talking about. The line of the channel or the byline of the channel is ideas matter. Really any idea that I'm interested in, I'm going to do content over there. In fact, just last night, I launched this video about my thoughts on some future scenarios involving AI. If you're interested in that stuff, go check that video out. Again, subscribe, check the channel out. If it's for you, follow along over there. If not, stay here and I'll continue talking about running shoes over here as always. Another thing that happened in March is I was actually in Tokyo for about 4 days after the Tokyo Marathon. So I was there the Tuesday after the Tokyo Marathon. Now I went to Tokyo to do two things. One, to film a couple running routes in Tokyo that I really wanted to cover. I'll put a link in the description to a playlist of videos that I call As Seen On, which are my kind of first-person views of running routes that I love or that are important to me around the world. I was going to Tokyo to film specifically two of them, one at the Imperial Palace, another one in Yoyogi Park. I already have the short loop of Yoyogi Park on the channel. Again, link in the description to a playlist with those videos. But the weather was so bad in Tokyo. It was windy, rainy, snowing most of the time I was there. So I actually ended up not running at all the entire time I was there because at this point, if it's under about 50 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 degrees Celsius, I'm not interested in going outside and running. And the entire time I was in Tokyo, it was probably close to about 2 degrees Celsius, which is in the upper 30s, and kind of sleet snow mix every single day and very windy. The most awful weather you could possibly do. So I ended up not filming. I ended up not running at all. That also was when my leg was still kind of bothering me, so it ended up being good rest anyway. So it wasn't the end of the world, but I will be going back to Tokyo at some point to film those two routes that I want to cover and do some other shoe stuff. But the other thing that I did in Tokyo was I wanted to check out a few shoes. And the first one was this shoe, the Asics S4 Yogiri. Now, this was a shoe that I didn't think I was going to pick up, but I wanted to see it because the S4 is a shoe that everyone always asks about on this channel because it was only a Japan-only shoe. But now the S4 Plus is going to be a global release. I actually believe as of the recording of this video, Running Warehouse in the US actually has that shoe or it will be out very soon. But I actually got to see this shoe. I didn't try it on, but I got to hold it and got to kind of really look at it. It is a significant update from the original S4. What you have there is a carrier foam of just basic flight foam, but there's FF Turbo Plus above that right under the foot. It is a low plate configuration shoe, so you get all of that sort of FF Turbo Plus under the foot above the plate. It should be very rolly. But the shoe is a little bit wider, a little bit more durable. It has a little bit more built up upper. Wouldn't call it a training upper, but it's not like a Metaspeed upper either. It's not one of Asics' stripped down race uppers. Honestly, this is a shoe that probably a lot of people are going to enjoy. It is a much better shoe than the Magic Speed 4. And I think it actually brings in a lot of question marks as to what is the future of the Magic Speed. I have some other points on that a little bit later in this video, but it's a cool shoe. I think a lot of people will enjoy this. I think if you're a runner who wants a fast super shoe, even though the S4 Plus is not top tier, it is still very fast, but you need a super shoe that's maybe a little bit wider, a little bit more accommodating, a little bit more stable. this is going to be a good option for a lot of runners, but it's not one that I'm going to cover on this channel because it's not one that I'm going to run in at all, but it was cool to see it otherwise. The next shoe that I checked out, and this is actually one of the main things I was looking for in Tokyo, was this shoe, the Puma Propio Nitro. And I found this shoe and I was very, very disappointed in this shoe. In fact, where I found this shoe, I ended up talking to one of the sales reps for this shoe. And I was stunned by this shoe because it felt very fragile. The upper material was very strange. The midsole foam, which I expected to be Nitro Elite foam, the older supercritical TPEE, not the newer ATPU one. I don't know what the midsole is in this shoe. And overall, this shoe was just way too delicate, way too minimal, even for my taste to actually want to go run in. I didn't even bother trying this on. And talking with the sales rep on this shoe, I actually found it kind of over in the corner of the store. There is a ton of stock of this shoe. And what the rep was telling me is that they've sold very few of these shoes, and what they have sold, almost all of them have been returned either because of durability or the runner just did not like them. So they had a bunch of them just kind of shoved over in the corner. That's where I took this photo. And as you can see, this video as well, there were a ton of them. And basically the rep was telling me that these are just not very popular and they're probably going to send them all back to Puma. So this was a instant no for me. It was just a shoe I was never going to run in. The other problem with this shoe is that it's a hard sell on this shoe, and the sales rep that I was talking with agreed with me. In a world where the Adidas Adios 9 exists, this shoe is nearly impossible to make a case for because the Adios 9 is a better shoe in every conceivable way than this shoe, as well as being more durable. And what's crazy is this shoe really was originally developed for the Japanese market, and Japanese runners are basically saying no to this shoe, which is why I kind of think you're seeing a global release of this shoe because it's not doing well in Japan. Anyway, bottom line is this was a complete pass for me, and it was honestly probably the only Puma shoe I was going to cover this year. So there's probably not going to be a lot of Puma content on this channel in 2025. Just a heads up. Another shoe that I tried on, not actually in Tokyo, I actually tried this on a couple days after I got back from Tokyo here in Taipei, is this shoe, the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2. This was a shoe I was interested in covering on this channel because back in December I had actually tried it on. It was a shoe that was too small for me. It was only one shoe that they had at the Taipei Marathon Expo, but I got my foot into it. I could experience it. I was like, oh, okay, there's something interesting with this super squishy foam. But when I actually got to try on my US men's size 9 a few days after I got back from Tokyo, immediately I was like, nope, there's no way I'm going to run in this shoe. The problem is the upper. It is very sloppy fitting, even for a Saucony upper, and that's a low bar because Saucony uppers are usually pretty horrible. The biggest problem is the textile is super rough, like oddly rough in this shoe, and then the heel design of this shoe is very strange. I'm not usually a runner who has heel lift issues in shoes, but I could immediately see that I was going to have heel problems in this shoe. It is very strange. The next big problem is the geometry, that extreme toe rocker geometry, which to be fair is pretty much the same as what was in the Endorphin Elite 1, which is the other reason I didn't cover that shoe. I do not do well with those extreme forefoot rockers like this shoe has. They just do not work for me, so that was an instant no for me. And then the foam was like I could see where this is going to be fun. It's going to be cool. It's already gotten some buzz from the reviews I've seen on it, but I think it's going to be one of those things that's going to work really well for some runners, and then other runners are going to really struggle with it. It's going to be more polarizing than the Adidas Adios Pro 4 Lightstrike Pro update going on because it's even softer than that. Overall, not a shoe for me, not one that I'm going to cover, though I am interested in the foam. So if Saucony actually does a proper trainer that has this foam in it, and I'm not talking about the Endorphin trainer because that is just a Kinvara Pro 2. There's absolutely no way I'll run in that shoe. That's one of the worst shoes, worst concept of shoes in the past maybe 20 years. And the fact that there is a Kinvara Pro 2 or the Saucony Endorphin trainer, that's an instant no. But if they do a proper trainer that's just this new super squishy Incredi-Run foam, I may try that out. And there's rumors that they may actually put that kind of shoe out. but we'll see. I don't have a lot of expectations for Saucony. We'll see what they're doing, but I won't be covering the Endorphin Elite 2 on this channel this year. Overall, my trip to Japan was still very interesting. I got to see a bunch of other shoes that I hadn't seen, like the Adidas Supernova Prima, which I had never seen, the Adidas BYD, which I had never seen. I actually, on my Instagram, did stories of all these, my thoughts on them, and showed some of the shoes as I was looking through them. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, give my Instagram a follow, because I am doing more sort of the moment when I'm looking at shoes and running stuff over there in my stories and sometimes reels. So go check that out and subscribe over there if you're interested in that more sort of the moment content from me. The other thing that I did in Japan is I ended up running into a bunch of subscribers of this channel and had some really, really engaging conversations with a few of you. So it was really nice to run into some people and really just get into talking about shoes in person. I've been some other places and some other cities and also here in Taipei, and I usually don't run into people that are like, oh, hey, Sagasu running. But in Tokyo, I ran into a bunch of people and I got a lot of highs. So anyone who said hi to me, thanks for the heads up. The conversations I had, really, really interesting to get a sense of, Japanese running, some specific things around Nike in Japan, and some other topics that we talked about. Really great. So any of you who said hi to me, thank you, and really great conversations. Switching gears again a little bit, I wanted to talk about this. I actually do not intend this channel to be only a Nike channel. I am a Nike runner though. I would say 75 to 80% of what I run in is Nike. I'm just a Nike runner. That's how it's always been. In fact, if I did not have this channel, I would say almost 100% of my running would be a Nike, and I wouldn't even think twice about it. There'd only be one or two other shoes that I would actually probably still run in. The Adidas Adios would be one of those that were non-Nike, but otherwise I would only run in Nike. But with this channel, I have reason to run in other stuff, and I actually really appreciate that. So I'm a Nike runner. I do have a Nike bias. That has nothing to do with me being seated with shoes for review from Nike or anything I do with Nike. I'm just a Nike runner. But as I said, I don't want to make this channel only a Nike channel. So I do intend to cover a lot of non-Nike shoes. In fact, here's the list of the shoes that I'm planning on covering the rest of the year in 2025. Now, the first two shoes, the Boston 13 and the Takumi Sen 11 from Adidas, are definite shoes I will be covering. To be honest, with the Boston 13, I am not that excited about it. Everything that I've read about the feedback and the reviews of the shoes that were accidentally released about a month and a half ago just leave me just kind of like, okay. I do feel like it is a shoe I need to cover. I do need to compare it with some other shoes. I will be covering it, but I have very low expectations. With the Takumi Sen 11, I also kind of have low expectations on that, mostly because this shoe exists, the Streakfly 2, but also I feel like that shoe is either going to be really, really good or not good at all. And it really comes down to the foam, the geometry, and the technology in that shoe, whether it's rods or a plate, how thick the rods are, how stiff the rods are, how soft the foam is. Is it new Lightstrike Pro, which I think it is. I think it needs to be. I will definitely be covering the Takumi Sen 11, but again, low expectations there. The Brooks Hyperion 3 is a shoe that I am really actually kind of excited about. I'm a little less excited about it after my experience with the Launch 11. Launch 11 was a great shoe, just the foam really beats up my legs. I kind of expect the same from the Hyperion 3. I'm also not super into the stack height they added to the shoe, but it is a shoe I'm interested in. In July, I will try to cover it. It should be one that I can get my hands on here pretty quickly. The Saucony Endorphin Speed 5. Now, when this shoe was previewed at TRE last year, it just seemed kind of meh to me, but it may be the only Saucony that I actually run in this year, and I'm going to probably cover it just because I like the 4 so much, though the 5 looks to be quite different again. Every generation of this shoe, Saucony seems to want to reinvent it. So we'll see what the 5 is. I'm also probably going to do the Speed 5 because I'm not going to do the Endorphin Elite 2, and it doesn't look like there is going to be an update to the Endorphin Pro at all anymore. So this may be the only Saucony that I cover, but I am interested in it. I'll keep my eye on it. Next one, New Balance Rebel V5. Yes, If you follow this channel, you know my thoughts on the V4. I am not a fan, but I've been hearing some leaks and I have some conversations going on with people who know these things in the industry. And I've heard a couple things that give me some hope for the Rebel V5. The first one is that I've heard that New Balance is saying they're improving the fit of the shoe. One of the biggest problems I had with the V4 was the fit. The last, the upper, everything about that shoe was a complete mess. Supposedly, they're refining it, making it better. We'll see what that means. Second thing is that they're improving the foam in the shoe. The other big problem with the Rebel V4 was just that messy, spongy, horrible foam in that shoe. Supposedly, they're making it a better foam, much more energetic, much more resilient. Again, we'll see. The other thing I'm hearing is that they're actually re-engineering the shoe to be more Rebel again. I'm a big fan of the Rebel. I ran a lot in the Rebel V1 and V2. By the time the Rebel V3 came out, I already moved to the Streakfly, so I didn't really run in the V3 very much. But the Rebel V4 was not a Rebel. And if the shoe comes back to the Rebel, it's definitely on my radar. I will try to cover it, especially if I can get a pair here in Taipei, Taiwan. Next one is the Normal Shirag 2. The Normal Shirag was one of my favorite shoes of really all time, not just trail shoe, just running shoe in general. I believe I am on the list to get a Shirag 2. We'll see about that. It should come out actually in April, so that is a shoe that is definitely on my radar that I'm looking forward to covering quite a bit. And looking ahead into the fall, I think we should get new Metaspeeds then. I did expect the new Asics Metaspeeds to be out for the Tokyo Marathon in March. They obviously didn't come out, so the next logical time for them to come out is at the World Championships that will be in Tokyo in the middle of September. I would kind of expect them to be there. If we don't see the new Metaspeeds in September, we're not going to see them till next year at Tokyo. So we'll see. But if we get a Metaspeed in 2025, a Metaspeed Edge 5, I will definitely be covering that because that is a shoe that I want to put head to head with this shoe, the Vaporfly 4. And I really want to see how that shoe compares to the Vaporfly because those are the two main low plate configuration shoes. So I will definitely be covering that. Probably won't cover the Sky, and we'll see about the new MZ Type 1 or 2 or whatever that shoe's called. It's also been called the Metalite. We'll see about that shoe. I'm unsure about that, but definitely will be covering the Metaspeed Edge 5 whenever that releases. And two other shoes that are definitely on my radar are the Adidas Adizero Trainer. I've talked about this shoe in a bunch of videos. A lot of unknowns about this shoe other than we just know something's coming from Adidas as far as a trainer in the Adizero lineup. Whether it's an SL3 or a completely new model, it's unknown right now. But supposedly this shoe is supposed to be incredible, and honestly it's probably the next Adidas shoe that I'm very excited about and really looking forward to. And then another shoe, which I'm just going to call the Asics Trainer, is one that we're beginning to hear some leaks and rumors about. And what this shoe is something to do with an evolution of the Superblast. Now, I don't know if this is 1, 2, or 3 shoes, because I've heard a lot of different things about what this shoe or shoes could be. We do know that there is a plated Nova Blast coming out. I don't think that's this shoe, and that's definitely a shoe I'm not interested in covering. Also, interestingly, with the S4 Yogiri coming out, it also means that with a plated Nova Blast, why does the Magic Speed even need to exist anymore? So big question mark on that. But also, there's rumors that the Superblast is going to end as it's been known and become 1 or 2 other shoes. Now, the first one, and this is what I'm really calling the Asics Trainer right now, is something that I've heard described as a plateless Metaspeed, which sounds like the shoe that I wanted forever. Essentially, Asics doesn't have a really performance trainer in their lineup right now. They have the Nova Blast, but that's more of a daily trainer, and they have the Hyperspeed, which is more of a classic race flat. They don't really have a shoe in between those, and that's what theoretically this new Asics Trainer could be. Think something that's a little bit leaner and smaller and more agile, like a Hyperspeed, but an FF Turbo Plus foam with no plate. Sounds like a shoe I want to run in. Sounds like a shoe I'm actually really excited about. There's also a rumor of either an updated Superblast 3 or the Superblast kind of going in a completely new direction, maybe getting a plate or some type of plate. I don't really know. A lot of rumors around that. So we'll see about that. But this more nimble, leaner, super foamed trainer from Asics is definitely something that's on my radar. We'll see whenever that comes out. Supposedly there's going to be something in fall 2025. And obviously from Nike, there's still a bunch of other shoes coming out this year that I will be covering on this channel. Starting with the Nike Structure 26, I do want to cover that shoe. I haven't run in a Structure in maybe 25 years. It's been a long time, but given how we see Cole Hawker, Connor Mantz, Galen Rupp, we see them in the Structure quite a bit. I want to see why they're running in it. Plus, I'm interested in some of what I've seen in leaks of the Structure 26 to actually try out. So that's a shoe I'm going to try to cover. The Nike Kiger 10 trail shoe is a shoe I do want to cover on this channel. We should probably see a Peg 42, though if that follows the same hierarchy that it's followed for years, that will just be an upper refresh on that shoe. I'm a Peg guy. I'm still going to cover the Peg. I will be running that shoe. I'll covering that, but that won't be a huge update this year. I've been seeing recently rumors of a Peg Plus 2. I'm not seeing that from Nike or anything involving Nike. I'm seeing that from other places. And that's supposedly just an upper change. I don't expect that because I think one of the best things about the Peg Plus is the upper. But if there is that, I will definitely cover that. The Vomero Plus and the Vomero Premium are both shoes that I will cover. I don't know when they're coming out, but the Vomero Plus being the replacement for the Invincible, and then what we've seen in leaks of the Vomero Premium just looks absolutely bonkers. Both of those shoes are not shoes I typically want to run in, and I don't think they're going to outdo the Vomero 18 for me, but I do want to cover them. I do want to run in them. I do want to experience them and give my thoughts on this channel. So those are all shoes that I'll be covering. And then we should probably see an Alphafly 4 definitely next year, but we may see some sort of proto or prototype release in the end of the year. If there's a proto colorway of that, kind of the way they did in the Alphafly 3 back at the end of 2023, maybe I'll get a pair of those too. But there's still a bunch of Nike stuff coming this year, and I will try to cover all of it that I can. And lastly, looking ahead to April on this channel, there's a lot of cool stuff. Basically, I had a ton of reviews back in March of the Vaporfly, the Vomero, and the Streakfly. Now there'll be a bunch of versus videos for all three of those shoes. I did a couple in March, but the bulk of them are going to come out in April. There's just a bunch I want to get through, so those will trickle out onto the channel in April. There'll be a review or two or maybe three of some various shoes. Some I just talked about, some that you can see on my Strava if you follow me that I'm already testing. So there'll be some reviews on this channel. We have Boston on April 21st and we have London on April 27th. I'll be doing my super shoe observations for both those races. Should be really interesting. I'm looking really at a couple key topics, which I'll touch on in each of those videos. And then there'll be some special content that I'm really excited to launch on this channel and things I've been working on for a while now. That I'll finally be putting onto the channel in April. So April is going to be a lot of content, exciting month, some stuff that I've been working on I really want to get out there. So stay tuned. Plenty more coming on the channel. As always, thank you for making it to the end of the video. This is kind of what I do here. I talk about shoes on this channel. So this is your first video you've ever seen of mine. Subscribe, you'll see more content from me pop up in your feed, probably a little less all over the place like this video was. Otherwise, leave a comment, like, it all helps this channel continue to grow, which I always appreciate. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.